Well, ZYXWVUTSRQPONMLKJIHGFEDCBA. That was a thing that someone asked me to do. Now, this is the start of the stream, and I have a gratuitous amount of beer right there. So I'm going to try that again in an hour or two, maybe, whenever we end the stream, and see if I can still do it. All right, awesome. So we have everyone. Everyone can see me. Can everyone hear me? I think I can hear my my headphones actually. Yeah. Okay, so that looks all right. Are we all good? Right. Excellent. Everyone can hear me. Fantastic. So yeah, welcome to the stream. This is a little bit of a test for me. I haven't really done any kind of live streaming myself. I've been on other people's channels and done things, but I need to figure this out for myself, because there is some stuff coming up where I may need to host live stream. So this is kind of half a test as well. But I also wanted to kind of get people to ask me some stupid questions, or just generally ask me questions, and we can, talk shit for a bit. So yeah, welcome everyone. Now, as you can probably see on the screen, there are some rules. Well, I wouldn't call them rules, but the main thing, I wanted to kind of give all the science stuff a bit of a break, because, well, there's lots of science stuff on my channel. And if you ask me really intricate science questions or anything along the line, that's quite esoteric, then it would just be me a stream where I'm just staring at the screen, looking shit up, and perhaps doing some derivations and stuff like that. And that just wouldn't be that exciting, if I'm honest. Now, for your questions, I do have a little thing. So if it does get a bit sciencey, I may be up for it. It depends. I'll just quickly show you what I've got. So I can, draw and, do little equations and shit if that is necessary, but I hope that's not absolutely required. So yeah, I already kind of answered the first question. Can I recite the alphabet in reverse? I'm going to try that again towards the end, once I've consumed these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beers. So I did get some questions on my community tab first, and I will start with number 6, who asked, if a squirrel and a fish got into a fight, who would win? I've been thinking about this for a bit, and I'm not quite sure. It depends on the environment, right? Now, I have to go by personal experience, right? I've never had a fight with a squirrel, but I reckon I could kick its ass. However, I did go scuba diving once, and I did get slapped by a fish, an actual stray. Well, it was fucking massive. Apparently, it was a tuna or something like that. And it swam past me, and yeah, it actually, I turned around and it actually whacked me in the face with its tail, and dislodged my mask. It was kind of cool, but I didn't know that tuna was that fucking, well, it's not even that big, it's fucking massive, right? So yeah, that was quite a scary episode for me. Right, so for any questions that you've got, I need to make sure that I've got Discord open so people can punt me questions. So direct your questions either at me or at Logical Troglodyte or Amy Hogan as well. All right. Okay, so we've got some decent questions coming in. Let's see. So yeah, I've answered that question. Now, there's another question, can't remember where that was asked, but it was Mike Bertelson who asked, do I think whether we've reached the limit of stupidity when it comes to science denying claims. I would like to say yes, but no, because I thought we were at that point 5 years ago, and then I heard about flat Earth, and yeah, I was wrong before, and I've been wrong many times on that question, and I'm not going to say, yeah, we've reached the limit, because they're fucking stupid. Okay. Ooh. Right. Okay. So Barry On asks, if the Earth is really spinning, why do farmers still have to rotate their crops? I think that question, yeah, I can't. No, that's a good one, and I don't think I can come back with a funny response to that. Maybe try some vortices or something like that. I don't know. Yes, Barry On. I think you may have broken me already. But yeah, okay. So let's get on. Right. What other questions have we got? Harold. He asks that if you'd have to get rid of one language in the world, how fast would the French have to learn a new language? Well, presumably, if you're getting rid of French, then they would have to come up with a new language very quickly. But you know perfectly well that the French will resist to that quite heavily, and they will refuse to learn a new language. So that could take forever. So the French society will probably just collapse. Sorry, French people, but you know it. Right. Yeah, they will collapse. Absolutely, Amy. Right, I've got some more question. Two left thumbs. This is actually a genuine question. At least that's what he claims. Oh fuck, this is weird because I've got my own screen open and I can see myself with a massive delay. So two left thumbs actually said that he would be interested in this notation, and what if you imagine the notation that I use in the logo where you've got the triangular brackets called a bra and a ket with the vertical line in between, and what X and Y in place of the A and B would actually mean. Now, what that means in my realm, actually, that just means the dot product. So that means, yes, I do have a use for a blackboard. Way, fantastic. So if we have, if we actually have this notation where we have X and Y. Now, what that means is that, well, X is some vector which has components. Fuck it, I'm going to call those components chi 1, chi 2, chi 3, and then y is the same kind of thing where we have y is equal to fuck it, let's call it gamma 1, gamma 2, and gamma 3. Then actually what x y would mean is the inner product, and that means that we take x, well, chi 1, we multiply that by gamma 1, and then we add chi 2, gamma 2, and then we can basically do that for however many components that are there. So that's basically what that means. It's yeah, it's not too excited. It's pretty straightforward. Right, so I think I've answered that question. Harold's 998 if you were to look at my amazing horse and give it a lick, what would it taste like? That depends on the horse, really. But if it is an amazing horse, it absolutely has to be raisin. Just don't stroke its mane. That might take up quite a bit of space in your house. I don't think you have the space to store that. And definitely do not have a look at where the lemonade is made. Absolutely not. If you didn't get that reference, then perhaps the internet is not for you. Okay. Right, a few questions that are coming from the live chat straight away. From Logical Troglodyte. In order to become a physicist, how sane is too sane? You have to be a little bit weird to be a physicist, but sanity is defined by societal standards, and yeah, definitely scientists do not kind of meet what those societal standards are, consider as normal. But that is more of a question on what society defines as normal, because who would willingly do so much work so many hours in a week for such little pay? It's I think that by what is generally considered the sane in society, and I think scientists completely fall apart there, because you think about it, you talk to academics, you talk about talk to them about their work, and it is mental. Why would anyone work that many hours for such little pay? But that's because societal standards, state that you don't need to have joy in your job. So, yeah, we are definitely a weird bunch. Absolutely. Right, Michael Dan Olsen also in the chat. So, is Ken Wheeler Botnik AI the script writer for Theory Hypothesis? Well, I would say no, because I based it on his book. But in the latest video I reviewed, he said that there's no space for time in Mother Nature or whatever, because time is the number 4 for some strange reason. So it could very well be that he created those videos which let me use his, and he created his book that allowed me to feed the Botnik AI. And because time, is not a thing, he's managed to actually use that to create the book. So we're kind of in an infinite loop, a kind of paradox here. So Mike Bertelson's wife wants to know whether you or my wife plays all those guitars. No, actually, they are mine. Mr. Science plays the piano, but yeah, I play the guitar and the bass and lots of other things, but mainly because, well, I do music production. I write music. I'm not a particularly good guitarist or anything, but it's good enough for what I need it for when I write music. So yeah, that's awesome. Brian Shannon asks, if photons don't have mass, then how do they have momentum and therefore solar cells? You haven't read rules, have you? This is a tricky one, and actually perhaps a good idea for a video. But let's just say that phenomenologically we can confirm that they do, and they do not have mass. But yeah, I'm actually not going to go into that, because that's kind of rule number 3. Sorry. Should we just get John Watson? Should we just get over with it? Get it over with, and ask Darren Brown to tell us what quantum entanglement is? Yeah, possibly. I don't think you'll have an answer, but we do like Darren Brown. He is fun. So Ugly German Truth kind of talks about well, saying that sane doesn't sane mean healthy, so it should translate as being able to live your daily life without any problems or discomfort. Actually, no, healthy includes sane, but so you can't be healthy without being sane, if you get what I mean. But you can be perfectly sane without being healthy. But does it? So it should translate to being able to live your daily life without any problems or discomfort. Have you ever tried solving nonlinear differential equations? There are many problems and there's a lot of discomfort. But yeah, no, we joke, but yeah, we're all pretty standard. You know, we're actually quite normal people, and that's actually one of the rationales behind this channel. And the way I present stuff is actually to try and avoid how trying to kind of dismantle that whole ivory tower view that people have of scientists, and just kind of give it a bit more of a human feel, that, you know, we're all just normal people with different interests, and we're not that inaccessible. Okay, so Barry on again. Have you thought of asking a certain genius physicist if microwaves interfere with counter space? Leave it up to him if you mean the radiation or the appliance. I'd be very tempted to ask him that question. I don't think I'll ever be in a position to ask Ken Wheeler anything. I don't think we'll ever really have a conversation, but yeah, that's a good question, because if I look at my kitchen, it definitely does interfere with the counter space if we're talking about the appliance. I mean, it's just a big fucking thing that I never use, and yeah, it doesn't really go there. Ooh. From Tommy Grunwald, can I make 2 + 2 = 5? Yes, I absolutely can. As long as you really define what 5 is. So yeah, that works. Right, so I've got a few more questions from the community tab. Okay. Okay, that's a bit too serious. I'll leave that for a bit. So Factard, he asks, I know a theory is not 100% truth, but what is the actual percentage? 97%, 98, or 99.9? That kind of depends, right? So, well, it's probably 0% truth, in all honesty, right? Because if you take the absolute, kind of, it's either true or it's not. So if something is incomplete, it is untrue. But we can assign certain probabilities, and that's what we do with experiments. And that's what sometimes in the news you hear about, this value, this sigma value, 5 sigma or 6 sigma. And what that means is that, well, your theory, if your theory is correct, and you spot a certain, it predicts a certain result, and you observe that result in your experiment, then the sigma value actually refers to the probability that you would get the result that you observe if your null hypothesis is actually correct. And the higher that number, the smaller that probability. So with 5 sigma, I think we're talking about 1 in 10 million or something. I don't know the exact figures off the top of my head, but we're talking about insane probabilities that it is more likely that every person on Earth is actually hallucinating and witnessing that result than that results being due to some weird random noise from yeah, and the null hypothesis actually being correct. But yeah, in a certain sense, I would say all scientific theory is probably wrong, and I would probably assign, well, I would assign quite a high probability to that. But how wrong, I don't know. Right, so I'm gonna go back to what's coming through me through Discord. Oh, hello, Miles Davis. If gravity is really denseness, why aren't people attracted to Riley, aka Sleeping Warrior, aka the dumb fuck of the year? Actually, I think I had a chat about this this earlier, and yeah, I think stupidity is like gravity, because stupid seems to, stupid people seem to attract stupid people. And as you've witnessed from watching Ken Wheeler's video, the time seems to slow down when you watch that shit. So it does have similar effects as mass. Yeah, gravity is maybe the mediating force between stupid and stupid. Perhaps, I don't know. Yeah. So, Two Left Thumbs asks Oxford, London, or Cambridge, which is the best for research? It doesn't it doesn't quite work like that, because they're great universities. You've got some of the universities in London which are brilliant, and some brilliant work is being done there. Cambridge as well, Oxford, but looking at it on an institute wide scale, it just doesn't work. You can look at some of the research done at Cambridge, and certain groups will do absolutely fantastic work and pioneering results. But for example, our group, there are groups at Imperial, there are groups at UCL and Cambridge, and there's some competing works. Now, I'm not at one of those universities, but we're absolutely kicking the shit out of them right now. So you can't look at it on an institution-wide basis, and you have to look at it on a group by group. And then also judging quality of research is it is quite difficult. What is good research, what is bad research, because there's a lot of different stuff happening. So that there's definitely something to say for undergraduate level, that there's a certain quality in university, even though I think a lot of that, if you're within a kind of same tier, if you're within the Russell group or I don't want to be elitist about that. At the end of the day, right, a physics degree is a physics degree. That's just the way it is. But at postgraduate level, those kind of rankings, they completely fall apart. Okay, so Two Left Thumb says, I worked at UCL and Cambridge. You asked for silly questions. Well, yes, silly questions. Right, so John Watson, where do lost socks go? A real answer, please. Counter space. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I think actually, I think I did take a washing machine apart once, and I did find lots of socks in the tubing that was supposed to drain away. So, yeah. Absolutely. Right. Da, 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 da. Why is Tatty Bogle? Why is the third hand on an analog watch called the second hand? Is it? Well, I think that's because there's a long-standing conspiracy to fuck with your mind. Okay, I'm gonna let the silly questions come in. Yes, my counter space is magnetic, and why can't you buy mouse or sparrow flavored cat food? Oh, well, you guys are getting a bit too silly, so I'm going to go out for some of the more serious questions now. I need to think on that one. Okay, so where are we at? So I did ask some, people to get people to ask me questions on the community tab. And there's actually one question that was asked, which was something that I had originally scripted for a 2,500 subscriber special that is coming up, but I decided to cut it out as it felt a bit self-indulgent in edited content. But Michael Dan Olsen said that he would like to hear a bit about what compelled me to produce and upload that first video a year ago, because he's done his research and figured out that the channel was just over a year old. And actually, what compelled me to do it, it's a really odd one, because when I was doing my undergraduate degree, I was working at a petrol station, and someone told me about this guy called Bob, and B-O-B, and he came out as a flat earther, and that was, you'll remember that instance probably. And I never really paid much heed to it, but I did think that the idea was funny. And it was, I started my PhD, and one of my colleagues, he was actually invited as one of the token physicists on at a flat Earth conference. You may have, you may have seen the video where you've got allegedly Dave talking about Einstein and talking about gravitational waves and stuff like that. And one of the guys on that panel is a mate of mine. He now works over in Heidelberg, but he was talking to me about it over coffee, and I just had these weird questions that, well, shit, flat Earth is a thing. And he told me, there was a conference, and he spoke to that, and he kind of said, and that made me realize how big a thing it was at the time. And I was already looking at doing something for science outreach, because for us, science outreach is quite important, and in a lot of places, science outreach is actually something that you're measured on for your career and your employability. And there's a lot of stuff out there, and rightfully so, because science outreach is extremely important, especially in the UK and Europe, where so much science is funded by the taxpayer. So there has to be some accountability, and we have to be able to talk to the general public about where their money is going and what value we are driving. It absolutely has to be done. So I've been looking at doing some science outreach stuff, and that was kind of like, okay, I've got to do, maybe I'll do something about flat Earth, and I'll do that on YouTube. But that even stuck with me for a while. I didn't know what to do, and then just by happenstance, I came across I came across a book called Quantum Field Theory for the Gifted Amateur. Now, that is theoretical physicist speak for quantum field theory for those fucking idiot experimental physicists like myself. And I liked it because it was a book that didn't focus on the general public, you know, where you have the raw, no equations, just talk about the weird, wacky, wonderful stuff. But it also wasn't a book, you know, where that really goes into the heavy details for people who are already kind of up to speed. And it was for it was aimed at the experimental physicists who may not, you know, have spent a lot of time looking into this sort of thing, and but are interested, but they don't want to use it. And that's kind of hit me as that is perhaps the right thing to do, because, you know, everyone's watching Brian Cox and stuff like that on TV, and it kind of interested me at first when I was much younger, but then I very quickly went, it's like, well, this shit is boring because I want to learn something and I'm not learning something, but then I want to learn more about it. And then the only option was actually reading the in-depth stuff, and that meant that I had to understand all the equations that we used, and there was no middle ground. But to read the in-depth stuff, then I'd have to do a bloody degree first to actually even get to a point now that, you know, is understandable. And I wanted to sit in that space where it's not for the general public. It is for the people who have a keen interest and who kind of know all the sound bites that are out. So that's basically why, and how I decided to start doing videos. And, you know, if you look at the first videos, it was, you know, it was badly recorded. It was on the it was on the 720 camera at the top of my iMac and stuff. But, you know, over time, yeah. So that's really that was a really long answer, but yeah, that's it. So number 6, asked on my community tab, who has better hair, Heath or Plannerwalk? Well, last time I did a thing with Plannerwalk, he put mayonnaise on lettuce, so I'm gonna have to vote down Plannerwalk every time. Right, so what's coming in through Discord? Shit, what time is it? Oh fuck! All right, okay. What is the Johnny Ragaroo asked? What is the best kind of BS to get? Depends what kind of BS. Are we talking about bachelor's in science or bullshit? Because you give me the option STEM or Flat Earth Black Swan. So yeah, bachelor's in science, STEM, obviously. Yeah, STEM every way. But yeah, the best bullshit, it's got to be Flat Earth stuff or some other stuff. Right. Ugly German Truth asks, B.O.B. the rapper with Neil deGrasse Tyson feud. Yes, that is the guy. That was quite a big story. Well, but then he asked me to get a bit serious. Have I ever seen flat Earth evidence that I found so interesting that you use it in school? Well, no. However, the flat Earth stuff has the flat Earth stuff has given me a new approach to teaching. So it definitely has. It has helped. So the kind of teaching that I do is because I teach the computational physics module, or basically undergraduates, they learn how to solve complex problems using Python. And there's actually parts of that approach that I take on my channel, which has really helped me kind of develop some skills that really help the students overcome their reservations and misunderstandings that they have around what they're doing and how to approach this problem solving. So no, I have never really used any evidence, but yeah, Flat Earth has definitely helped me in that area in communicating some of the more complex stuff. Right, so what have we got next? Yeah, so Two Left Thumbs did comment like more Big Bang Theory attitude between theoretical and practical physics. Yeah, it is a bit of a hand wavy joke where I said that basically it's quantum field theory for idiot experimentalists. No, I think everyone gets a very misguided view of the culture of physics and how different physicists in different fields treat each other, because experimentalists are expected to be able to do quite a bit of theoretical work. And actually theorists, some of them will engage in experiments, but most theorists, as far as I've seen, is they go into theoretical physics because basically they've got two left thumbs, and they should not be allowed. They go into theory because it's clumsy, because they're clumsy, and that's a bit of a generalization, because some of the most brilliant theorists I know are experimentalists as well, and they are absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it's a bit reductionist. Right, so Brian Shannon, the photos in the background, you have two galaxies and a reflection of someone who needs help reaching the top cupboards. Have I? I'm not quite seeing what you're seeing, probably. Yeah. Are we talking about this one, the Eagle Eye Nebula? Let's move that camera around a bit. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay. I don't like the framing though. But yeah, he does. Yeah, I suppose you're kind of right. Yeah, go on a dress. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, you kind of get the image a bit more if you see it not on a poor reflection. But yeah, I get where that's coming from. Oh, fuck you, Steven Cup of Reason. Is there a correlation between your level of degrees and your receding hairline? Yeah, you can fuck right off. No, yeah, definitely. I think it more has to do with age. Just that age where that happens, but it just so happens to coincide with my PhD. So yeah. And yes, CJ, I do hate it when a theorist is also good at doing experiments. These people are intimidating, and within science, there is a common thing called imposter syndrome, where you really feel inadequate all the time, and yeah, when you are working with some brilliant people, which I do. I mean, yeah, it's really infuriating. I mean, we had Kip Thorne around the department a while ago, and absolutely lovely guy, but fuck me, that was intimidating. Right, let's see. Let's go back to a bit more. Some simple questions. Don Morris, if AC is equal to BC, let A equal 1 and B equal 2. Cancel the season, we're left with AB. Substitute the bakes for A and B, and we have 1 equals 2, therefore 1 is equal to 2. Prove me wrong. No, sorry, you're wrong. AC, if that's true, AC cannot be equal to BC. Two left thumbs. Also, Jesus Christ, he's asking a lot of questions, isn't he? Am I familiar with the rhetorical device of apophysis? Yes, of course, and I know what that is a reference to. But yeah, I did actually bring that up. Um, so I've been shitting on Ken Wheeler a bit, and he calls his channel Theoria Apophysis, and the apophysis is basically a rhetorical device where you bring up a topic by denying that it needs to be brought up. So, and that's kind of one of the jokes in the videos that I do, where I say, I where I just say, I don't need to point out the irony here, do I? Right, and that's basically apophysis. All right. Oh, silly question from Linda Bertelson. Who is my favorite Doctor? Has David Tennant. I have to say, and a lot of people will shoot me for it. A lot of the people who are like the classic kind of Doctor Who, but yeah, I would have to go for David Tennant or actually Matt Smith. I think they brought something absolutely wonderful, and but I don't think it's, you know, these guys are great actors, but I think it was an amalgamation of lots of things: the quality of the writing, the production quality, everything. It just made it quite visceral, and I think that was really powerful. So yeah, I would say David Tennant as well. But that was also he was also the first kind of Doctor I watched. So to give you a bit of context, right? I didn't, you know, I'm not British, and I moved over to England, and I'd never really heard of Doctor Who because it's, you know, it's a big thing in Britain, but outside it's not that huge. It's becoming a bit bigger in America, but in most of Europe, it's quite a niche thing and the general public isn't too aware about it. So my first encounter was when it was the David Tennant Doctor that was being aired on BBC. So that's why it's also a bit special to me. And actually, I hated it at first, to be honest. I think I really got into it after a weekend of having absolutely nothing to do, and it just so aired on. I can't remember what TV show it was, what channel it was, but they aired all of the David Tennant episodes all in one go, just one after another in a big marathon. So that was cool. So I'm kind of skitting around on the different questions, and I didn't actually expect so many questions. So Brian Newton asks, and apologizes if I've already answered this. I haven't. How challenging do I think it would be to have Anthony Riley in one of my classes? I don't know. I mean, firstly, that's very academic because he would never set foot in one of my classes because he wouldn't make the entry requirements. But how challenging would it be? You know what? I think there's a lot of big man stuff when it comes to the flat Earth and all of that, but yeah, I don't think. I think he would just shut up and get along with it. And someone is saying that my beer is getting warm. Yeah, I know. I kind of said I would drink all of them, but I haven't even made my way through one properly. Jesus Christ. Turns out that live streaming sure is a surefire way to reduce my drinking. Okay. Oh, yes. Sorry. Jim R asks for the thoughts on the Fermi paradox. There's so many aliens out there. Why haven't we seen them? Well, that is a big it's a big topic. So there's several things you have to consider. where are all the aliens? The problem is that we only have ourselves as the only data point from which we can make predictions. Now, we can quite easily say, like, there's so many stars in the galaxy, and, you know, there's so many galaxies in the universe, so there must be, we can extrapolate that and say there are so many planets, and then, you know, it's the whole Drake equation thing. Now, there is the question of what is intelligent life, and within this context, we define intelligent life as having built a radio telescope, because up until the civilization is to a point where you can build a radio telescope, I mean, there may be intelligent life, but there's no way for us to measure it, right? So that's the important bit. It's actually measuring it. Yeah, so if there's intelligent life, if there's a radio telescope, the question you've then got to ask is, how long does a civilization last after developing the radio telescope? Because we developed it about 70 years ago. And how long have we got left as a species if we don't sort our shit out? So it could very well be that actually there are lots of civilizations that were out there and that got to that point in their civilization, but failed to take action, and they ended up destroying themselves. And in a very short time window, within 100, maybe 200 years of developing that radio telescope, so there's a 200-year window where they may have sent out a message that we could detect. And then that 200-year window needs to coincide with our 200-year window and where we can detect it. So that is quite problematic, and we need to be pointing our telescope at the right region at the sky at the right time to detect it. And we need to be able to actually pick up a signal which is strong enough. So there is a lot that there has to be life out there. There has to be intelligent life out there, or there must have been intelligent life out there, or there definitely will be. Actually, all of those. But actually detecting it, that's difficult, because actually when you start running the numbers, life, there has to be a lot of life out there in the universe, but intelligent life, as per the definition of having developed a radio telescope, that is problematic. And then you've also got the other question: if the civilization hasn't destroyed itself, then you gotta have the real. You're gonna have real question of, actually, is it maybe that they decided, let's not send out lots of signals because that's a really fucking stupid idea. So I don't know. Yes, there is life. There is definitely intelligent life, but it's not, for me, it's not the question of its existence. It's our ability to detect it. And I think that is the really, really difficult bit. So yeah, I hope that kind of shines a light on that. Right. Now, I need to get drinking on the beer, otherwise it's not going to be a feat being able to say the alphabet backwards at the end of the stream. Yeah, there's a Michael Damelson makes a very good comment around that. Aliens, notice how cow mutilations went down at the same time as flat Earth went up. I'm not saying that it's aliens, but it is aliens. Yeah, definitely. Well, Actually, that's just more evidence that perhaps some flat earthers have strange ideas about what to do with cows, but making videos has distracted them. So they're leaving the cows alone because making videos and shit and getting those that super chat money. There we go. Christian Ganelius, could it be that the flat earth disk is actually made of rubber so that it can stretch to make flight times work? Maybe that is possible. The flat earth disk could be made of rubber that could be stretched, and it would be stretched into a ball. Simple as that. Number 6, which debunker has the best accent? I'm gonna have to say Planner Walk, because if he were to say number 6, hilarity would ensue. So yeah, awesome. And Willie Preissig asks, so should we make a version of God of the Gaps for conspiracy theorists? Conspiracy theories. Now, firstly, God of the Gaps itself is quite useful for a lot of conspiracy theories, right? I can't explain that. So God did it, but I think conspiracy theories are just kind of excuses, different formulations of the God of the Gaps argument. And for those who are not familiar with it, God of the Gaps argument is that if there's, if you develop a hypothesis or a theory, whatever you want to call it, and that there's just something that doesn't add up, and there's a link that it doesn't make sense, then there's a gap in the theory, then you just insert God, and then that's fine, and that makes it all work. But I think all conspiracy theories are God of the Gaps arguments in themselves, because you have historical events that just don't make sense. There's a little gap that we don't know about, that there was a secret or something that was not that's not part of the historical record, so there's a gap there. And I think a lot of conspiracy theories are actually about filling that gap. So conspiracy theories are mostly a different formulation of the God of the Gaps argument. Ugly German truths. No, I'm not gonna drink more beer and then burp the alphabets. No. Right. So let's go through a few more on my community tab. What's coming in through Discord, actually? Right. Okay. Cool. I'll get to those. What time is it? 10 o'clock. So I'll leave that one until the end. Okay, so Jim R asks, what should we do first? Colonize Mars or build O'Neill cylinders? Now, I'm not quite sure what you mean with an O'Neill cylinder, if I'm honest. So I'm gonna have to Google this. You see, this is why I ask no science questions, because I have to. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I think neither. I think it's moon colonization first. Absolutely. It's close by, and we can send stuff there, and now we can construct larger things. Would it be Mars colonization or O'Neill cylinders? If I'm honest, I would like to think that O'Neill cylinders may be a better option, but a lot of people much smarter than me have kind of thought about this and seem to think that Mars is the better option. I suppose with O'Neill cylinders, you do have to stick them in orbit, and they are going to decay. and there's a lot of junk flying around in space, and that leaves them quite fragile. So I think from a practical point of view, I think Mars maybe more suitable. What is it? Okay, so that's a good question there. So what do you think about the Expanse TV show, and will laser firing weapons be a thing in the future? Well, firstly, The Expanse is brilliant. I think it is a wonderful show. It had a tough third season, if I'm going to be really honest, but I think that is mainly because of a change in direction, because it was first a Netflix show and then it got cancelled by Netflix and bought up by Amazon, and it went into a different direction. First two seasons were brilliant. Third season was a bit difficult transition. Fourth season, I think, was really good. It is a bit more simplistic. It's a bit more kind of traditional, this fourth season, but it was good. So yeah, laser firing weapons, will there be a thing in the future? No, I don't think so. And this is actually lasers to generate such amounts of power, it is quite hard. I don't think, no, you need insane amounts of power. And also because if you want to hit something with a laser, you need something extreme, and actually do a lot of damage on a single sharp burst. The problem is that your laser power will have to be so high that you essentially just ionize the atmosphere, and it would create a massive mess. And I just don't see how that would work. Simple projectiles and weapons would work, and I think that's actually something that's the 2003 version of Battlestar Galactica really got right, is the fact that they did away with all those kind of lasers and stuff like that, and they just went back to kind of physical projectiles. And I think that was quite right, and it really gave much more believable quality to the TV show. Now we do have directed energy weapons, right? And this is the whole thing what they're talking about in 5G and stuff like that, where we do have these weapons when we have directed radio wave signals and microwave signals sent at your targets. But that's kind of completely different. Yeah. I hope that kind of answers it. Underscara, do you think it's a coincidence that the moon has the right size / distance to allow for total solar eclipse? Yes, it is a coincidence in the sense that it is a coincidence for us that we are alive here at a time when that happens. However, there was always going to be a time where that would be the case. So the idea, you've got the moon that is tidal locked, that is inevitable with time, and just that the distance is just about right, that it's roughly the same size. The coincidental thing is that we are alive and observe at the right time to discuss that, right? But it was always going to happen, and I can't remember if it's going to change, and it won't always be the case, but humanity will be fucking gone by then. However, yeah, it is really cool that we can see that, and as I've said in one of the videos about this, if we are ever going to be visited by aliens, it will definitely be well, not definitely, but it will most likely be that these aliens are actually there just to witness that solar eclipse, because that would be cool, and because it is very special within the universe, well, within the galaxy. Right. Next question. Steaming Cup of Reason. If I had to trade places with him, how would I teach his students about magnets? Um, quite simple. It's just about. Oh, actually, no, that's not that simple. Um, um, God. Well, you teach them about what is, and to a certain level, you have to accept something to be true, I suppose. So you teach some of the facts, some of the things that you can observe. Like, you have a North Pole, you have a South Pole, and you play with some iron filings, and you see these field lines, and all of that is fine. You don't need to go into exchange interactions or stuff like that, right? You can go what is. Um, that it is quite a difficult question to answer, and I teach, I teach at a university, so that's a very different ball game, and that's why I would say actually teaching proper fucking children is really hard. Um, yeah, I, I no. If I'm honest, I don't know. Um, I would like to know the answer. I'd like to have that particular skill set to teach the kids that you teach, but I don't. So I would have to defer to your expertise, actually. Right. Baryon, if we ever detect proton decay, should we start making stuff out of something that actually lasts instead? No, don't give up. No, don't bother. Second law of thermodynamics, we're all fucked. We're all going to decay into nothingness and heat death of the universe and all of that shit. So, yeah, we're screwed. Don't bother. Sorry, I'm so cheery, aren't I? Right. And Sarcastic Barman is being exceptionally silly. If there's a new moon every month, where does the old one go? Well, the mice eat it because the moon is made of cheese, isn't it? So the mice catch it, eat it, and yeah. Andrew Clark asks, Marmite or Sprouts? Which is more evil? Now, I have a think about, well, Sprouts, I like Sprouts, but yeah, right, you're going to unsubscribe for me saying that. Marmite, they say you either love it or you hate it. I seem to be the only person that thinks it's all right. I wouldn't choose it, but yeah. Yeah, simple as that. Right, so some more questions, and there's then one that Sarcastic Barman. And you know what? I'm going to leave this for the audience to figure out, and I would really like your input on some of the questions, maybe in the comment section after we're done. And this is one of those questions that's really important that we try and answer that. Sarcastic Barman asks, if sound can't travel through a vacuum, then why are vacuums so fucking loud? And then he also asks, do strippers in the southern hemisphere spin around their poles in the opposite directions as strippers in the northern hemisphere? So if there's anyone who wants to make a comment who's got experience of strippers in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere and has spent a lot of time studying it, then Yeah, please give us your input in the comment section. Right, Johnny Ragadoo asked, is there anything to graphene enhanced batteries? Can I have an electric flying car? Yes, you can have an electric flying car, or at least that's what it will say on the box. I don't know if that's going to work. I've been treating a lot of the graphene stuff with a lot of skepticism, actually. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of talk around it. I haven't really spent a lot of time looking into it because I just see the word graphene and I just go buzzword. So yeah, maybe I should pay a bit more attention to it. But right now, yeah, I haven't seen much around it. Okay, so I've got Matthew Eagles who asked me the question of what is my day job, and then some more questions, which why do you think people actually believe the Earth is flat, and what's a good recipe for pork scallops? Now, the last question, it's very simple. I don't eat pork, so I don't know. But a bit of context: we've been since the Ken Wheeler video where I made the dressing for the word salad, we've had a little exchange about recipes and stuff like that. So he wants to know, but I don't really eat pork that much. So, right, sorry. Tati Bogle asks, what happens to strippers on the equator? They stay dressed. It just doesn't happen. They've got other ways, I suppose. Now, why do I think that people actually believe the Earth is flat? You know, I think it is. It's an interesting question, and this goes generally into conspiracy theories. I think it is because it's anti-establishment, and a lot of people are attracted by being anti-establishment. It's what I like to call the fetishization or the commoditization of punk, where it's somehow desirable to be anti-establishment, which I understand because I would consider myself that very much, actually. But it's that it's a bit misdirected. So there's a willingness to go against the grain, and then if you combine that with not a complete understanding of physics, and I'm currently working with Conspiracy Cats on something where we actually explore the reasons why someone may believe in some of the arguments and may believe some of the arguments that the flat earthers present, or understand where their misunderstanding comes from with the limitations of what you were taught in school. And that, so you have that anti-establishment thing, and you have that thing where you taught something in school and it doesn't quite add up. I think that's a perfect recipe for flat earth. There is a G-string theory around strippers on the equator. But what is my day job? That's another part of that 3-part question that Matthew Eagles asked, and that was actually the first bit. My day job is, I'm a postgraduate researcher. It means I'm currently working towards my PhD. And that is what I do. I do research in magnetism, specifically in 3-dimensional nanomagnetic structures. I won't go into it. There's lots of diagrams and shit to explain. Basically, what we're looking at is next generation data storage and data processing devices. We're looking at something called geometric frustration and exploring magnetism to develop physical models for neural networks, and possibly develop something called neuromorphic devices, which will allow us to create models of the brain. Hopefully, this is all kind of pie in the sky stuff. That will allow us to study, model systems, model brains, and perhaps gain a better understanding of how the brain works, and then all the kind of flashy shit that comes with it. But at a fundamental level, I build magnets in funky different, in funky different arrangements and different geometries, and I look at how the geometry affects the behavior of a magnet. And and those were the kind of applications that are the long-term things. But yeah, we need to figure that one out. Yeah. Now, aside from my day job, research, that's most of what I do. Then I obviously teach a bit. I do a bit of tutoring in the evenings for a bit of extra cash, but I'm winding that down a bit because I just found myself tutoring school kids who didn't need tutoring. A lot of it was pushy parents going, it's like, well, you got an A on your predicted, it should be an A star, and if you're at that point, extra tuition is not going to help. You need a different approach, and that is not something that I can give as a tutor. So I felt like, I need to wind that down a bit, because it's expensive for the parents, and I don't think it's completely fair on the kids. So yeah. Right, so I've got a few more questions that came in. Johnny Ragadoo says strips on the equator. Yeah, it's G-string theory. Yeah, there definitely is a G-string theory around strips on the equator. I need to drink my beer a bit faster. Okay, so there's another one for the audience, for the chat. The sarcastic barman wants to know that if he heats his solid state hard drive until it becomes a gaseous state hard drive, will that enable cloud computing? Nice, I like it. Brian Newton asks, is it possible that this calcula could influence flat earthers somewhat? No, because if it were, a lot of these things, you don't really require like a detailed look at the mathematics to figure out that they're true. You can kind of use a bit of logic. Now, I think dyscalculia is probably a thing, but I think their disdain for mathematics mainly comes from it mainly comes from, oh, that's an establishment tool, and we have to be against that. Right. Michael Damelson, has a Flurf ever said anything that gave me pause or forced me to think carefully whether it was correct or not? No, a flat earther hasn't really given me anything that I had to think whether it's correct or not. However, I have been in positions where I do need to kind of figure out a few things just to absolutely double check that the wording of my response is correct. Because there have been situations where I kind of like shot off a reply and just go, oh fuck, that was wrong. That's not quite right. So yeah. But actually, I'm thinking about it. There are a few non-flat Earth related things that they would have said, but I've definitely entertained the notions like, well, you may be right, and sometimes I agree with them, right? Especially when they're talking about anti-vax. No, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Don't kill me. They talk about the evils of the pharmaceutical industry, and you kind of go, well, yeah, of course the pharmaceutical industry is evil, but yeah. So you kind of have to agree with certain things, because there are, in any conspiracy nonsense, there are grains of truth, right? Big corporations are generally dicks. Big Pharma are dicks. Monsanto is an evil company that should be burnt to the ground. But that doesn't mean, and I think Ben Goldacre says that quite nicely, as yeah, Big Pharma is shit, but it doesn't mean that magic beans are going to cure your cancer, right? Right. So I think I did have a thing going on. Oh shit, there's been quite a few questions. Draft Science. Oh, hello, sir. What's the most intelligent life form on Earth that contains no neurons? Evolution only made neurons like cells once. Why do you think the rest of the universe is making neurons? I don't know. I it would be wrong to assume that all intelligent life is, you know, using neurons for the computational power that their intellectual organs, their equivalent of a brain. Yeah, it may not be neurons, but it seems pretty likely, right? Right. So finally, what time are we? Right. So what do my students think about the flat earth? That's from G Hammer. Fucking funny. Simple as that. It is just funny. And that's all there is to it. Yeah. And then Sarcastic Barman, another one for the chat, because yeah, if guns don't kill people, but people do, does that mean that toasters don't toast, but toasts toast? Oh, you're a bastard. And Clive Wells asks, when I come to power, which 3 things will you begin my reign of terror with? What would I begin my... Are we going to go for silly answers or serious answers? Because if I'm going to be serious, I would tear down the entire education system. And rebuild it based on curiosity. And yeah, do away with all of this. Well, the way that we've been doing things. The rest of my reign of terror, what other 2 things would I bring with me? Ooh, heavy metal. I would make that absolutely an important part of everyone's upbringing. And any incompetent parents will receive, well, their kids will receive a couple of espressos every morning and a whistle. I think that will do it. Right, so Sarcastic Barman, could a person survive in a falling lift if they jumped as it hits the ground? No. No. You need to, no. No. Yeah, you're fucked. Well, it depends from, you know, how high the lift is falling. I mean, if it's falling from only, you know, halfway up to the first floor, then you're going to be fine. But if it falls right from the top, nah, you're screwed. So Tavilda asks, on Big Pharma, is it okay to have 2 Lemsips at the same time? Oh, you rebel. Technically, no, because it contains paracetamol, and that can do a number on your kidneys. But, nah, I don't know. Right, so... You know what? I think I'm gonna... I think I'm going to cut off the questions here and ask the questions that have been asked so far that haven't shown up in my feed yet. Because we do have the shills in an hour and I need to go and have some dinner. And, well, hopefully all of you guys will be coming there. So, final questions that were asked. Yeah, that was Barman. Mike Watson, oh, that's a very good question. Brian Newton, heavy metal, AC/DC, or uranium? A little bit of both. I think that's absolutely essential. You know, a little bit of uranium never harmed anyone, right? Surely. Um, so Steaming Cup of Reason, with what you have learned and continue to learn about Magnus, do you think we will one day be driving around in speeders like Luke Skywalker? Probably not, because actually they're pretty useless devices, right? I mean, we've got wheels and they do the job quite well, right? It's the classic thing of how we'll evolve and how have implants to, with phones, for example, having brain implants that will, and all of that kind of sci-fi stuff is like, no, we've got really good device to use a phone, and they're called hands, so why would we? But Mike Burton asks a question that I will probably finish up with. And that is, when I'm making a video, do I work through the probable replies beforehand and head them off? It really depends on what video I'm making. So some of you may remember I did a video on conspiracy cats being a Satanist, and because I could exploit that unknown nature of my channel, and I could really freak it, get people's goats. So I did fully anticipate receiving a lot of abuse, and I did anticipate exactly what happened, is that I would get a lot of abuse from people commenting, and then by the time they'd watched the end of the video, they would have either deleted their original comment or edited it. So that was quite an interesting one. But yes, because I approach, in a way, I suppose I approach my videos as I would approach writing a paper. What does my reviewer say? So I do try to head off, comments beforehand. But I also like to set traps for flat earthers, for them to step in and really make a fool out of themselves, like I did for the experiment. You may remember that was a big thing with Anthony Riley, and when I first derived the whole model of his relative density nonsense with the Riley coefficient, I did drop specifically little traps for him to step in and to go to attack and make himself look like an idiot, and which he did. And then I decided, right, I'm going to give this another shot, because he made that video and I made that response video, and I did the same thing again. And yeah, he stepped in them. So I do like to have a bit of fun with it. Yeah, and that's how I structure my videos. An ugly German truth, yes. A milkshake is now a duration, not a volume, apparently. I think that's a reference to one of the stream cards. Oh, yes, 2 shakes of lamb tail. And I think that's going to be it. I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, thank you for popping along. As if I'm honest, a really weird experience for me. I've never done that. I've never really kind of considered, but talking to essentially, well, it's just a camera for an hour and a half. So that's quite weird. But yeah, thank you all for coming, and well, yeah, let me know in the comment section and shit. So everyone, go over to the Shills. We're going to be live in about an hour. It's going to be different, not just me. Clive Wells, pineapple pizza. It's all right. Okay, it's not great, but I would have it. Oh, that pissed off both sides of the camp, didn't it? Because I'm a centrist typically. Right, so yeah, come on to the Shills, where we'll just be talking shit and laughing at people. So yeah, thank you all very much for coming, and you'll catch me soon. Now, I wish I did this a bit smoother, because I cannot find where the window is where I'm supposed to stop the stream. All right, good night.